I'm joining me now, Curtis Ellis, Senior Policy Advisor, American First Policies. Curtis, great to have you on this Monday.
It is wonderful to be here with you, always.
Kirstjen Nielsen, she's out. We saw this coming. The president, look, he's results-oriented. The guy ran a business. She's not getting the results. Bless her heart. Nice lady. I've met her several times. Can't say a bad word about her. But she also, was part of the whole Republican establishment. Came up through worked in the Bush White House, worked for Republicans. Not really a Trump supporter. Can't really trust if she ever believed in America First policies. But at the end of the day, she didn't get the job done. And it looks like, Curtis, the president finally is starting to grasp that he cannot be successful in executing his policies without nominating and putting in people in place who actually believe in what he's doing. That's why now we're getting, he scrapped the nominee for Border Patrol. He has had enough with Secretary Nielsen. He's nominated both Stephen Moore and Herman Cain for Federal Reserve. Remember, Jerome Powell was just, another Republican establishment, Goldman Sachs guy that they all recommended. He's had it with that. Do you think the president's finally starting to realize he's got to put his own people in to get anything done?
Yes, I think so. I think it's becoming clear, as it has been to us for a long time. It's becoming blindingly obvious and clear that you can't rely on the gilded reptiles of the swamp to execute the Trump agenda, which is about draining the swamp and gutting the reptiles. Look, these career bureaucrats, and as you say, God bless her, Kirstjen Nielsen, good person, there's no evil intent in her heart. She has learned how to be by being part of the Washington establishment. And it's this interlocking mechanism of courts and careerism and go along to get along and don't rock the boat and don't push too hard and stay inside the envelope and stay inside the box. And you can say you're tough, you can be tough, you can be in your heart tough, but you're not going to really step on any toes or break any china. And that's exactly what we sent President Trump there to do, to break China, to shake things up. So there's this mentality always inside the minds and the hearts of the career people in Washington that we're not going to upset the way things have been done. We're going to try to change it a little bit around the edges, and unfortunately it's become so entrenched that you can't. Look, Chris Kobach he was on Breitbart Radio the other night, and maybe Chris Kobach's going to become the new Secretary of Homeland Security or Director of CBP or ICE, that other job that's open now. He said there's three things the president can do right now, to address the border crisis, and he doesn't need Congress to do it.
What are they?
First one, finalize a regulation that was proposed by Department of Homeland Security back in September that would undo the court so-called Flores settlement. This is a court-imposed rule that says you can only detain families with children for something like
20
days.
20 days.
And this,
20 days.
By changing this regulation, you can detain families indefinitely, together. You keep them together. You're not separating children, ripping children from their mother's bosom. You keep
Kids
them
in
together,
cages,
but
right.
in detention.
Right.
So you don't. So there goes catch and release.
Right.
And then if you want to come from Guatemala with your child and live in a immigration detention facility, great. Go ahead. Have fun. Mm-hmm. You might want to rather be back on the farm in Guatemala. Mm-hmm. Okay, number two. Right now, the federal government owns thousands of trailers and mobile homes. We have them for hurricanes, for other disasters. Those could be set up as processing centers and detention facilities for these tens of thousands of migrants that are coming in. This is Kobach saying, you park 100 of these trailers there, put a fence around the parking lot, and there you go. You have your immigration detention center, and you bring the immigration judges to the facility. Give these people their hearing. Oh, your credible fear hearing? Oh, your asylum hearing? Great. We're holding you until we have that hearing. And once we adjudicate it, we either let you go or we send you back home. We have a fleet of commercial airplanes ready to fly you right back to your home country. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. This is like the easy pass for immigration hearings. Why aren't we doing that? We could be doing that. Don't need an act of Congress to do it. This is an action plan here. And then, I love this one, point number 3, have the Treasury Department regulation that prohibits illegal aliens from sending home remittances through Western Union and other money transfer systems. Then tell Mexico we're going to finalize that regulation and we'll cut off $20 billion a year in capital, in money coming into your country, unless you give us a safe third country agreement like we have with Canada. What that means, safe third country agreement means whenever an asylum seeker sets foot in that country, he cannot pass through that country and then claim asylum in the United States. Somebody comes from Guatemala, from Honduras, they want asylum because they're afraid their husband's going to beat them, or the cops are going to beat them, or the gang members are going to shoot them. Okay, you need asylum from this horrible situation in El Salvador. Go to Mexico and claim asylum. You can't go through Mexico to claim asylum in the United States, though. Sorry about that. Not the way it works.
That's what Canada has, right?
That's what Canada has, yes.
Right.
Exactly.
So if you
remember, we talked about this during the European migrant crisis. You had these people the Syrians claiming, or wherever they were from, many of them were not from Syria, by the way, right, saying, we need asylum, that's why we're leaving. And they go right through Greece, right through Bulgaria, right through Macedonia. They want to go to Germany to claim asylum.
Right.
Because Germany's got the booming economy.
Right. Right, or they wanted to go to France or Italy, but they wanted to get through other countries. So it really wasn't about asylum; it was about these are economic refugees that want to get a better job or want to go to a country that has a social net system for them that will take care of them. Exactly. That has look, if you're these people come to the United States, sure, you want a job, but if the first thing you're going to get is you're going to get housing, you're going to get food, you're going to get education, you're going to get a phone, you're going to get a bus ticket, you're going to get blankets, you're going to get hospital care, you're going to get emergency room, you're going to get it all. And then you've got advocates in the Democratic Party right now. And a bag of chips.
And you've got a bag of chips. I'm sorry.
You've got advocates in the Democratic Party that are upset. Curtis, explain to me, Curtis Ellis, this obsession, this infatuation that the Democrats have with illegal aliens. I mean, it's beyond the pale. Rasmussen just did a poll the other day. 67% of Americans think that illegal immigration is a real problem. 50% say it's a serious problem. Yet the Democrats are just infatuated with giving them right after right.
I'll tell you what it is, John. They're infatuated with giving them citizenship, whatever, but we have to get rid of citizenship because citizenship is itself exclusionary. It's exclusionary to non-citizens, right? I mean, this is the kind of wacky liberal logic. I'll tell you where it comes from. This is... I'm not exaggerating, mm-hmm, and I'm not being a fringe wingnut here. Mm-hmm. This is straight Leninism. This is straight out of the fringes of the hardcore communist doctrine. They believe the communist doctrine, which came out of the New Left, so this is the Leninist doctrine that grew up in the 1960s. I was there, and I'll admit it, I was part of it, mm-hmm, that there is an international solidarity of third world people, right? I mean, I've written about this. You can go to American Greatness, amgreatness.com, American Greatness website. The Weatherman faction of the STS wrote about this, and everybody else has adopted it. It's since become part of the DNA of the radical left, which has taken over the Democratic Party, which says Hispanic people in America are not Americans. Their affinity, the Hispanic people and the black people inside the United States are part of the international third world, right? They're an internal colony of the third world, the same way the French and the British and everybody had colonies in Africa and Latin America and whatnot, and those colonies rose up and overthrew their colonial oppressors and became independent. Similarly, the brown and black people inside the United States are part of these third world. There's this international third world solidarity of third world people. And so the illegal aliens are no different than a Mexican born in East LA, right? Mm-hmm. And their affinity, these people are naturally feel more allegiance, and this is where it gets totally sicko, weirdo, and not borne out by truth or polling or anything else. A Mexican American is born and raised in Chicago has more in common and more allegiance to a Guatemalan coming up from Guatemala than he or she does with the person down the block they grew up with. That's if they're not Mexican, right? I mean, right. These Hispanic people or the black people in America have more in common with some African socialist colonial, post-colonial despot and his setup in Africa than they do with you and me, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. Who grew up in America listening to rock and roll and disco and whatever we grew up listening to. I'm really dating myself now. And want a good job and, a nice house and with a front lawn. And no, that's not the way they think. They think that they want to be part of the international third world socialist revolution. So I know it sounds wacky. It is wacky. It's crazy, but that's the way these people think. That's the whole thing of identity politics. As if you're black, you are black before you're an American. If you're Hispanic, you're Hispanic before you're an American. Mm-hmm. And because, being an American is part of a racist, oppressive system, right. And the only way you can solve that is by uniting with black people all around the world to overthrow the racist oppressor, or uniting with Hispanic people from anywhere in the world and overthrowing the racist oppressor. Or if you're Chinese, I guess you have to unite with the Chinese Communist Party to overthrow the capitalist oppressor.
And so you're taking the position that the far left views U.S. citizenship as oppressive and exclusionary, right, at its core.
Well, they've said that.
Right.
Yeah. But this is, of course, now I'm not saying that the Democratic politicians that you see up there believe this stuff. They certainly don't say it. Somewhere in their heart of hearts, before it even forms words in their brain, they might feel it. But they haven't thought it through.
Mm-hmm. John Fredericks Radio Network. We're with Curtis Ellis. Curtis is a senior policy advisor for America First Policies. He's also a veteran of the Trump campaign in 2016. He served on the campaign on the transition team. He was an executive in the Department of Labor in the Trump administration, and he's now an advisor to America First Policies. He's also a noted columnist. You can find him. He just had a column out on WND.com, which you want to describe to that. Says Curtis Ellis explains how a funny thing happened on the way to the trade war. Curtis, you want to spend a couple minutes on that?
Sure. Look, when President Trump first put his tariffs on China and called out China for the way it's been abusing us in the rest of the world for the last 40 years. Everybody said, oh my gosh, this is going to destroy the economy. You can't do that. Tariffs are bad, 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 always bad, bad, bad. No good can come of this. The stock market's going to crash, everything else. And, well, it never happened. Mm-hmm. It never happened. A funny thing happened. The economy kept growing. We kept adding jobs. Wages went up. And then, remember, beer is going to cost a penny more per six-pack because of the aluminum tariffs, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. Remember
and then when
that?
you put more tariffs on even more Chinese goods, they said the same thing. This is horrible. You can't do this. It's just it's against everything we learned in school.
Right.
And what it turns out that, well, everything they learned in school was wrong. Mm-hmm. Now people are coming around. The business leaders are coming around. Jamie Dimon, head of J.P. Morgan Stanley, big. You want to talk about a big globalist bank? It doesn't get any bigger than that.
Right.
He's now saying, I don't want a quick deal. I want a good deal. The president can't just settle for a soybean deal where the Chinese are going to buy $200 billion worth of soybeans. That's not good enough. That's not going to solve the problem. He said he was against the tariffs, but now he realized they're getting reaction. We're finally addressing these problems, and we have to take care of it now, not later, because the problem's only getting worse. And I'll tell you, and we've got companies all over the world that are now moving out of China, finding other places to do business, to manufacture their goods, whether it's in India or Malaysia or Vietnam, any place but China. It's sort of the ABC is their new philosophy, anywhere but China. And they're even coming back to the United States to manufacture here. So it's an amazing thing. Plus now we have MIT is ending its research and funding cooperation with Huawei and ZTE, the big Chinese spyware manufacturers, telecommunications spyware manufacturers. MIT, the finest research and science, advanced research, advanced science, advanced manufacturing school in the world. We're basically training the Chinese on how to destroy us.
Unbelievable.
No more. That's over.
What about the soybean crisis, right? Remember when China would stop buying a few bushels of soybeans from Iowa farmers, and that was going to be economic Armageddon? What happened to that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the farmers are still there. Soybeans are still growing. It's these pointy-headed academics that still seem to believe farmers are like the safe space children in elite universities. Farmers are used to tough times, and you got to get through them. Sometimes you face adversity. Yeah, not sometimes. Always, farmers always face adversity, always face uncertainty. They don't know if the rain's going to come. They don't know if a blight is going to come. They don't know if their crop's going to get in. All it takes is one rainstorm in the middle of a harvest, and you can't get the combine out in the field, and you've lost your crops.
Right.
And there ain't nothing you can do about it to make sure the rain doesn't come.
Right.
Or to make sure that the rain does come when you need it. So they're used to uncertainty. They're used to things being tough, but they know you got to gut it out. And they know that China poses a threat to their way of life, to our way of life, and you got to confront it. You can't just look the other way, make believe it's okay, and do nothing. So, yeah, that never came about. And look, to all these bedwetters, I got a little knowledge for him here, a little wisdom. Freedom isn't free. And do you want us to be paying people, do you want the American standard of living to be 68 cents an hour? That's what you get paid, which is about what the Chinese get. And I don't know. So, yeah, the soybean thing never materialized. The recession that was widely predicted never materialized. The global economy recession, that never materialized. And guess what? If the United States is doing okay and the rest of the globe goes into recession, well, maybe they ought to adopt the American way of doing things.
All right, hashtag Goldman Sachs bedwetters. I'm gonna steal that one. Economic
I was listening
bedwetters.
to Fritz Hollings the other day. Senator Hollings,
He just
former
died.
senator from South Carolina, died on Friday, I believe, over the weekend. Great guy. He was sounding the alarm on this stuff back in 1987.
That's right.
If you got nothing else to do, go to C-SPAN, go online, look it up. He gives this interview on C-SPAN. Tremendous. It's linked on the American Jobs Alliance Facebook page. Must-see video, even if you only watch the first 5 minutes of it. You don't want to miss this. This guy tells it like it is, and he was doing it back in 1987. He was doing it back in 1960. He got it. Free trade destroying this country. It's a bunch of malarkey, and he was calling for exactly what President Trump is doing today.
That's
and he
right.
was calling for this 50
years
ago.
He ran for president in 1988, ran for the Democratic nomination. Curtis, I'm out of time. I got to go, but we're going to put you on the spot. We'd like you to guest host our show on Friday, April, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19th. Put it on your calendar.
Okay, I'll put it on my calendar.
Den Black wants you to come. Come by train. John Fredericks Radio
right,
Network. We'll see you then.
I said, all right, I hear you. I am acknowledging that you're asking me.
Put it on your calendar. Den Black. He says he'll take you to dinner, and when Frugal Den says he'll take you to dinner, you got to. I mean, that's something you got to take very seriously.
Okay.
John Fredericks Radio Network. We'll be right back.